Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here, or you've been here before but have not subscribed yet, please do so, along with hitting that thumbs up button for me and dropping your comments. You know, I love the comments, and it's been a while. The season is over. It ended. The Denver Nuggets took care of business against the Miami Heat, and now begins the off season. The rumor mill is going like mile a minute right now. Bradley Beal has been traded. Looks like Porzingis might be going to the Celtics and Marcus Morris to the Wizards or whoever. I don't know. There's a 3-team deal with Phoenix, Washington, and the Celtics, potentially. And this is being recorded the day before the draft, the NBA draft. So things could still happen by the time you're watching this video. It's exciting, but what we're going to this video is going to focus mostly on the Knicks and their decisions. Right now, it seems to be decision time for the Knicks. What will they do? What will these Knicks do? Will they retool and run it back? Will they do that? Or will they go all in on a superstar trade? And we are going to touch upon the Zach LaVine rumors and what it might take to bring him to this team. And we are definitely going to look at what it means to retool and run it back. The pros and cons of all of that. But first, we begin with Mr. Obi Toppin. There he is. Ain't no stopping Toppin right here. I got the shirt on today. Love the shirt. Really soft. It's a great shirt. Well, Fred Katz posted this article today. Based upon some audio that was played on a Knicks space on Twitter concerning a heated altercation, conflict, argument, whatever you want to call it, between Obi Toppin and Coach Tom Thibodeau after Game 4 against the Miami Heat. So, here we go. I'm going to read you some of the things, going to just kind of like give you the details of it. And then we're going to discuss what this actually means. Knicks, Obi Toppin contract extension. How much will it take? That's the name of this article. But in the beginning part of this article, he goes right into the frustrations. Frustrations arose with the New York Knicks season on the brink. Head coach Tom Thibodeau had benched Obi Toppin for the third and fourth quarters of a Game 4 loss in the team's second-round NBA playoff matchup against the Miami Heat, like I just mentioned. The result handed New York a 3-1 series deficit, one loss short of elimination. Meanwhile, the decision not to play Toppin led to an out-of-character moment for the usually mild-mannered power forward. According to league sources who were present, once the final buzzer sounded, Toppin aired his grievances to Thibodeau. The 24-year-old wants to play, and he wants to win. That evening, neither happened. An intense verbal altercation occurred between the player and coach as the group trekked to Kaseya Center, visiting locker room in Miami. It spilled into the post-game meeting once the doors closed. Okay, so that's the setup for it. Here's a little more. Thanks to Knicks Muse for tweeting this out. Tom Thibodeau and Obi Toppin, I keep wanting to say Obadiah right now. Obi Toppin allegedly had a heated argument following Game 4 of the Heat series, per Fred Katz. Quote, Toppin yelled at Thibodeau in front of teammates so fresh off a loss that they were still in uniform. Assistant coach Rick Brunson stepped in to stand up for his boss. Toppin and Brunson got into it for a moment. Randall, Evan Fournier, and Josh Hart next pulled Toppin aside to cool him off. Now, I've heard the audio, and I'm not going to play it here. You guys can find it on Twitter. Maybe I'll even drop it in the comments. You guys can find it on Twitter. But I have some transcripts of sorts. But before I go to that, Knicks Memes, shout out to Knicks Memes for tweeting this out. Can't confirm this stuff. You know, this is not, this thing I can't confirm. But I've been hearing it from other sources as well. My boy works in the Knicks clubhouse. Apparently, the Obi Toppin and Tom Thibodeau argument started when Thibs asked why Obi couldn't be more like Taj Gibson. And Obi screamed, "He's gone, okay? He's not coming back to you, and I'll never be him." Relationship might be irreparable. That last line is key. Now, that's the opinion of the Knicks Muse Twitter account. Now, for more on what was said, here we go. This is from Jacob, Knicks' latest. The audio it's a little hard to hear, so some people went through it and kind of scrubbed it to try and pull out the actual words that were actually said. And this is what they believe was said, and I can confirm that it's almost 100% accurate. Obi says, "Hey yo, Thibs, fuck wrong with you, Thibs? You got a problem? I'm the coach." Obi says, "No, you obviously not." Then the audio continues. This is Obi talking. "This N-word, Wilden, bum ass don't know how to coach." Teammates, yo, likely where the interaction gets, calmed down, where they interfere with it. So this is it. Now, interestingly, after this, now Obi played a pretty good following game after this. But this tells you how frustrated this guy is. He has been nothing but a company man, saying all the right things, saying he trusts in Thibs in post-game interviews, never speaking out of turn. He's never had any scandals, nothing. He's been pretty much a model citizen player since he came into this league. And his infectious smile and the joy with which he plays has won over fans. It's basically won over most of Knicks fans. Now, of course, some people do consider him soft. Well, right here, he wasn't soft that night. Not at all. Not at all. Now, unfortunately, what this means is that it is pretty much with 99% certitude that Obi Toppin will be traded this offseason. And it's been rumored out there that the Knicks are looking to get into the first round to make a trade. I mean, to make a trade to get into the first round. So what do they have to trade? They have Obi Toppin. There's a possibility that Obi Toppin to Pacers makes some sense, though that kind of lost a little bit of its steam when the Denver Nuggets and the Pacers made a deal for one of their first rounders and their 32nd pick. So that's 2 picks gone from the stockpile that the Pacers had for this particular draft. They also have the 7th pick and the 26th pick, and one other pick, 50-something, I think. So it's possible that maybe for the 26th pick, and the Knicks have been long coveted Chris Duarte, and we need consistent, dependable outside shooting. And it's ironic that Obi was one of our best 3-point shooters in general, and also he could, string together 3 3-pointers in a row, which is something that not that many Knicks were able to do towards the end of the season. So he definitely has value. I mean, in my opinion, what easily could happen. Okay, Knicks make that trade, for whatever reasons. He goes to the Pacers. If Obi starts, I know people out there in Twitter and all that stuff, they don't think Obi can average 20 and 8. Ridiculous. I think this guy is 20 and 8 automatic. I mean, I just don't see how. I mean, when he has started how many games in his career? I had a great screen grab here about him. Anyway, when Obi starts, he averages like 25 points a game or something like that. Now, I know a lot of that came like the year before when Randall sat out. He was, quote, injured, and he sat out, and Obi got to play against teams that really had not much to play for or whatever. But even still, the guy is a bucket, and he will only learn and get better. That is something I truly believe about him. Also, the offense seems to flow much better. The ball doesn't stick when he's on the floor. Is he a weakish rebounder? Yes, that's an area he has to improve. Can he become more consistent from the 3-point line? I believe he can. He shot 40% in college. He's been, we saw what he did in the playoffs, and we saw what he did in the regular season through, long stretches. The guy can deliver from that standpoint. Whoever ends up getting Obi Toppin, and it hurts me to say this because I want Obi to stay on this team, but I also know reality. The reality is, once the situation has happened, and it seems like the leak of the audio came from Obi's camp. Now, I don't know that for sure. It's just stuff that I've read and been hearing. So it shows how much he wants things to change. And I can't blame him. He just finished year 3. There really is no avenue for him on the Knicks to get more playing time unless the coach is switched out, which is not going to happen. Thibs is here to stay. So it comes down to this. And this was one of the mailbag questions I got, which I still will do the mailbag. Apologies to that. I still will do the mailbag. Just needed a break from all this stuff. I still will do the mailbag. I got it all together. Obi Toppin is the one guy from the rotation that almost certainly will not be back next season, especially based on the stuff that's been happening here. So I'm not happy about it, but at the same time, it's just the reality of the situation. And even if he was to stay with the Knicks, his role would have to be expanded, and it's just something that Thibs has not shown that he's willing to do. Now, the only other way that I can see Obi staying and staying on this team is if the Knicks do find an excellent trade for Julius Randle, which there has been zero indication that the Knicks would be willing to do that at this moment. Now, the other thing we have to say is we actually don't ever get any leaks from the Leon Knicks front office brain trust. Rarely do we ever get any leaks. So we really don't know. We really don't know what they are thinking about doing, which is the whole point of this video, because I'm reading the tea leaves, and I'm going to share with you guys what I think has been happening. Now, let's get to this scenario, because this goes into this. If you trade Obi, then you are in the retool and run it back scenario if you don't go for a superstar. If you don't make the superstar trade and you do trade Obi, maybe you pick up a pick and you get a quality outside shooter, a quality 3-and-D player like a Chris Duarte. I would love that. I mean, the Knicks can add a few more elements. Who knows? They can work something out. But that to me is a trade that helps us in a spot where we're weak, where we need to improve, and it also does the same exact thing for the Pacers. Now, I know the Pacers do covet Duarte, but at the same time, he was a disappointment for them last season. He did not play up to the level that was expected, but we saw what he did in his rookie year. The guy can shoot. He is a little older, so is Obi. So the ages match. That could be an interesting partnership. So let's say let's just look at the scenario where the Knicks are going to retool and run it back. That means retool the team around these two and RJ. Okay? These two and RJ, and try to make another run. Could that work? How far could the Knicks get if they were to do something like that? Well, let's see. What if in the retool and run it back scenario, they add two players, which they can. They have the financial ability to do it. And the players that they could add, the types of players, I'm not saying these exact players, though I would love these two players, of course. Bruce Brown opted out of his contract with the Denver Nuggets, and he is a free agent, and he will be seeking a long-term deal. Trey Lyles for the Sacramento Kings, 6'9". The guy he shot 36.5% from the three-point line. Bruce Brown is a very good three-point shooter as well. You saw what he did in the finals, in the final game. He hit a couple three-pointers that really put the dagger into the Heat's heart. Those two guys to this current team. Now remember, you're still trading out Obi. Now, and if you get Chris Duarte back for an Obi, you don't necessarily need a Bruce Brown. So that's just saying that. That's what he represents. We need perimeter shooting, perimeter defense, and we need a guy to replace Obi in the rotation. And someone like that could be Trey Lyles. He's a big. I could even see, because he does give you some rim protection, I could see finally Thibs using Trey Lyles at times at the 5 when the Knicks go small and Julius is at the 4. It's that I could see that happening, he barely ever tried it with Obi. but I could see him doing it with a guy like Trey Lyles. You have these two guys, or, Duarte and Lyles, guys like that, to the current roster. Remember, there's always injuries. There's always guys that get into slumps. If you're worried about minutes, that's always going to be an issue with a Thibs team. But Thibs did have a 10-man rotation for a period of time. He cut it down to 9 because, you know what? The quality fell off when he went to 10 in terms of him, in terms of what Thibs was thinking. But in this case, you're adding 2 super solid, super subs to this team that currently has already tremendous depth. That could be an interesting scenario for the Knicks to running it back. Now, the problem with this scenario is you're doing like you're doing small to mid-size upgrades. Nothing truly significant. You were able last season to knock out the team that was in front of you in the standings in the first round, which was the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, on paper, a lot of people might think, oh, the Cavs are a better team than the Knicks, even though the Knicks did end up beating them. But, over time, that stuff seems to level out. So let's say, does that improve the Knicks over what they did last season when you also factor in Atlanta's going to be hungry doing stuff? Like I mentioned, the Cavs are going to have another season altogether. And also Atlanta has a full season with Quinn Snyder. Let's see. Who else? Well, we know Miami Heat are going to do anything they can to get back to the finals. So they're going to be retooling themselves. So then there's the Bucks. The Bucks still, any team with the Giannis, and they're probably going to bring back Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton, and they still got Drew Holiday. That team is still going to be one of the top 3 teams in the East. And then Boston, they acquired KP. There's no way that they are not going to be one of the favorites in the East as well. So it starts becoming a bit of a logjam, right? Teams improving. Or the Orlando Magic that almost played 500 ball for the second half of the season last year. They're going to be better. They're picking up draft picks. They're going to make moves. Who else? Indiana Pacers. Before Halliburton went down, they were very competitive. They got some good draft picks. If we make this trade for Obi, they're going to have, who I think is an excellent, very athletic power forward. They're going to be competitive. Who do we have? The Washington Wizards. They're kind of a question mark. We don't know what they're doing. But the point is that almost every single team in the East is going to attempt to upgrade. Even the Detroit Pistons, I think the era of tankathon for them is over. So, who's left? Nobody. Nobody's going to stand still. So that is the danger of this. Now, adding a Trey Lyles and someone of the caliber of Bruce Brown is not standing still, in my opinion, but they're not the big, sexy additions to a roster that instill tremendous confidence in fans or in, whatever, the prognosticators, that this team has significantly improved. Now, you also have to factor in something else. You have to factor in that the young core that will be minus Obi, so we're talking about RJ, Grimes, IQ, even Deuce. You can throw him out there as well. Though he probably won't see much playing time in this kind of a scenario with if you bring in someone like a Bruce Brown, because you already have Josh Hart, who they're going to definitely re-sign. And, with IQ, I just don't see the minutes for a Deuce McBride unless, an injury or something happens like that. He's more insurance. So you run it back, and then you hope or you hedge that are either at least one of RJ, IQ, or Grimes, at least one of those 3 levels up next season. Now, let's just play it out. Let's say it's RJ. RJ does level up. He's already averaged 20 points a game the past 2 seasons. Leveling up for him means getting up to 23 points a game, better efficiency, maybe shoots, 47% from the field, 38% from the three-point line, gets his free throw shooting up to the high 70s, maybe low 80s, very low 80s, but that guy, that's adding that. You can easily see how you can pick up an additional 3 points and more efficiently. an efficient and become a better playmaker, lean into that. We saw him make that decision in the playoffs, and it played out beautifully. You know, he may arguably have been the second best player on the Knicks in the playoffs. You know, you can make a case for that. Obviously, Brunson was just outstanding. And then speaking of Brunson, does Brunson have more that he can do? Can he up his scoring average to 27 points a game? It's possible. I mean, we saw what he did in the playoffs. So you got some points. Can Randall repeat next season what he just did this season, which ended up being All NBA, All-Star? Now, of course, he totally fell apart in the playoffs, but we're talking regular season, and I'm talking playoffs as well, because I want this team to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. We get there, and then we can start talking about being a real bona fide contender. That's how you become a bona fide contender. If you actually have the ability to get to the conference finals, then you're a bona fide contender. So this is a way to get the Knicks to bring back some continuity, add a few key pieces, really highly productive pieces, and hope that, who knows, maybe it's IQ. Maybe IQ finally does pop and become that 50, 40, 90 guy. I'm talking about percentages. 50% from the field, 40% from the three-point line, 90% from the free throw line. You know, he's trending in that direction. I know a lot of people don't necessarily believe in that, but I believe it's possible for him. I believe it's totally possible for him. And on top of that, we're talking about the runner-up sixth man of the year. And just to bear this in mind, when you look at the total plus minus, all of last season, the total plus minus, Emmanuel Quickley was number one on the Knicks with a 318 plus minus. On that, number one was Nikola Jokic. And he finished, 318, which was good enough for 18th place for Emmanuel Quickley. Interestingly, in 19th, of all the players in the NBA, the total plus minus, Josh Hart was 315. Above those guys are guys like Donovan Mitchell, Giannis, Draymond, Desmond Bane, Brooke Lopez, Michael Porter Jr., Joel Embiid, Darius Garland, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. The top three were all Denver Nuggets, and they ended up winning it all. So being on this list is a wonderful thing, and IQ made it on that list as a non-starter. Think about that, as a non-starter. In fact, he and Derek White and Josh Hart are the only non-starters in the top 20 of that list. Just to give you guys an idea. So IQ could level up. And then we have Quentin Grimes, our, Klay Thompson light type player, who we hope will make the next step up in terms of his efficiency, his productivity. His defense is already there. He's only going to improve in that. His playmaking ability, his handle has to improve a little bit more. But I see all that within his realm of possibility. There is a scenario where all three of those guys all improve upon what they did last season. So you have those three guys, because they're young, we can hedge that at least two of the three could improve. And there's a possibility definitely at least one of the three could improve. Either way, but there's a very realistic possibility all three of them improve. So you factor that in to the current lineup. You still got Isaiah Hartenstein. We still got Mitch Robinson holding it down in the paint. And I already pointed out Julia's situation, Mitch Robinson's situation. Then it comes down to whether you can believe in this. That's what Leon Rose is facing right now. Now, he might have some other ideas in terms of retooling. More interesting. Who knows? I mean, I love these two, but he might have some more interesting ideas, which would be awesome. But in that scenario, that's the situation there. I think the team could probably repeat on their 47 wins, which would be good enough, most likely, for at least the 4th or 5th seed again next year. So those are the things to think about. I'm torn. whether this might be the right move right now or not. I think the Knicks have a little bit of time. They can sit back and watch how the other teams approach the offseason. They're already seeing results. They're already seeing the Celtics making big moves. Adding KP is a big move as far as I'm concerned. And then you can see, okay, well, this is what we can do here. Because again, remember, playoffs, a lot of it is matchups, and you want to have flexibility and depth, but you also want to have guys who can play make for themselves. That's the one thing that this scenario doesn't do. It doesn't add additional playmakers to the Knicks. It doesn't. You're hoping that the guys that are currently on your roster are the ones that can develop into that third or fourth playmaking option for the Knicks. That's what you're hoping for. Guys like IQ. IQ is a playmaker, but we're not adding one, is my point. Instead, you're hoping that the ones that you currently have will improve. So there's a risk there. But there's a risk for everything, man. There's a risk for everything. Now, let's get to the next situation here, which is, should the Knicks go all in? Now, currently right now, the rumors swirling are Zach LaVine, that the that the Chicago Bulls have been making calls to select teams concerning Zach LaVine to try and figure out what the marketplace will bear. I spent some time just combing through the internet, and I read a lot of Chicago Bulls their websites. I read their articles about their take on this, and they seem to be resigned to the possibility that the Bulls will trade Zach LaVine. So it does seem like he will get traded. Now, are the Knicks the right fit? I mean, do we have what the Bulls need? Is Zach LaVine what we need? Let's get into it. Let's get into this. So here, is Zach LaVine the missing piece? So Ian Begley dove into this exact topic. He put out an excellent article. You guys should definitely read it. This is just a portion of it I'm showing you here. He took a look at the math and pathways and implications of a potential Zach LaVine trade to the Knicks. So here it is. What would the Knicks need to give up? Well, LaVine will make $40 million next year. The Knicks would need to send out at least $32 million to satisfy league trade rules. They can do this in a number of ways. And he says here in parentheses, our scenarios include the assumption that New York declines Derrick Rose's team option and picks up Miles McBride's team option. So if the package to Chicago includes Evan Fournier, which would be for salary matching purposes, New York would need to send out an additional $13 million in the deal. A package including Fournier, Toppin, Isaiah Hartenstein, and draft compensation would work. This would allow Chicago to shed salary in 2023-24 and 24-25 when Fournier's contract expires. If the Bulls want Barrett, the Knicks sending out a package including Barrett, Quickly, Toppin, and draft compensation would work. Of course that would work. You're basically giving up everything for Zach LaVine. At that point, you're gutting your complete young core. So, in no way, if, ands, or buts, would I ever give up 3 of our young core to bring in Zach LaVine. Now, and there's many reasons why, but you can just easy. It totally cripples our depth. Now, move forward. So, diehard Chicago Bulls fans tweeted this out. It's been confirmed by Casey Johnson. The Bulls set the price tag for Zach LaVine per Casey Johnson Hoop, which the ideal return for LaVine would be a talented young player. Next, multiple first-round picks. Next, salary fillers to make the deal work. So here, I've looked at what Ian was talking about there towards the end, and I reduced it down to this. Either R.J. Barrett or IQ, depending on what the Bulls covet, Evan Fournier or Derrick Rose, which is for salary matching purposes. Now, of course, RJ's salary is going to jump up into the 24 million, 25 million. So you wouldn't necessarily have to include an Evan Fournier, but if you did include Evan Fournier, the Bulls may have to add another piece back give us another piece in return to just kind of like make the salaries match. And then the 3 first-round picks that are being discussed are the three 2024 first-round picks. Our 2024 first-round pick, the Knicks own one, which would not be protected. The 2024 first from Detroit, which is a protected first, which has has value because the Pistons were still, even if they, make a step forward, they may not even make it into the play-in next season. So they're still going to be a team that, their first round pick is going to have some decent value. And I can say almost the same thing for the Washington Wizards first round pick, especially if Kuzma leaves and they did trade KP. So it's going to definitely weaken that team. And they've already traded Bradley Beal. So, and they didn't necessarily get much back for him. So they're also in a totally reboot phase. So those 3 firsts do have some value for the Bulls. And what's great about what it does for the Bulls, it gives them instant assets that they can either hold on to and draft next season and hope that they can do their rebuild much quicker than most teams do. At the same time, so in this scenario, let's say it is RJ. So RJ would get replaced by Evan Fournier. So the starting lineup would be Brunson, Grimes, LaVine, Randall, and Robinson. That could be a very good offensive team. Very good offensive team. We do take a hit defensively. However, Barrett, the way he played defense last season, LaVine was almost equal to him, if not even a little bit better than him last season. Now, do I think over the course of RJ's career, will he stay at that level of defensive effort and defensive ability? No, not at all. I think he's going to continue to improve defensively, and he could even surpass LaVine defensively next season, as soon as next season. So that's one thing to keep in mind right there. And the other thing is, I know Zach LaVine has averaged about 25 points per game for the past 4 seasons. He is a bit injury prone, though he did play, 77 games last season or something like that. Last season, he did play a lot of games. He is injury prone. We know it. But he's also all that scoring, all that high-flying antics that he does, all those splashes he makes from behind the arc, hasn't really amounted to much winning. That Bulls team last season, they were basically pretty healthy. Caruso got hurt, and Lonzo Ball didn't play at all. But other than that, that team severely underperformed. And Zach LaVine, as their top guy, he deserves some of the critique for that. So here's an interesting thing. Yes. So is he an empty stats guy? Very legitimate concern that he could be an empty stats guy. Does he immediately inject gravity into the starting unit? Absolutely. He's going to get double teamed, especially when he's hot. He's going to get double teamed, and that's going to make life easier for Brunson and Randall. So in that respect, that's a big plus. But like I said, there's a very good possibility that RJ improves upon what he did last season. So, and he has to improve efficiency-wise. Efficiency has to improve. His counting numbers were decent. We're good. He averaged about 20 points per game. So if he can get up to 23 in that realm with efficiency, or even if he stayed at 20 points per game, but just got more efficient, which might mean he might even get a few less shot attempts, but because he's more efficient, he's still up there in that 20-point range. These are the pluses and minuses of it. Just to give you an idea, something else here to show you this. So this is from this sports mockery website. I told you I was reading a bunch of stuff from the Chicago Bulls point of view. And this is a guy that covers the Bulls. He said the Zach LaVine to the Knicks trade idea that the Bulls could not refuse, which is basically the trade scenario that Ian Begley outlined. So that must be kind of where they're at right now, which is RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickley, and 3 first-round picks for Zach LaVine. I think that is way too much to pay in terms of the depth and the potentiality of, well, we know Obi's gone, but at least 2 of Barrett and Quickly, I can't give up somebody like that. I can't give up both. I mean, it's either one or the other. So just to give you guys an idea how they're looking at it, that it's somewhat close. Now, the contract that Zach has is the killer here. He has a killer contract. It's going to make, it's just going to blow the salary cap out of the water for the Knicks. So in that respect, that's something you got to factor in terms of whether that is worth it or not. So that's where we're at here with this. It comes down to retool and run it back. Add key pieces, but you don't change things too much, or you go all in. In the go all in scenario, with Zach replacing RJ, here's the thing. I think we're still a 47-win team, to be honest with you. I think we are. I mean, and remember, we're still early. This is still early in the off season. Barely any trades have been made. The draft hasn't happened yet. We don't know how things are going to shake out. And then there's free agency. So a lot can change over the next month. And then there's summer league. A lot can change over the next month in terms of being able to fully understand where the teams are going to be at in the Eastern Conference. But in my opinion, if the Knicks retool smartly, they could repeat the win total they had this season. And if they do go all in for a Zach LaVine type trade, which this is not what I like about this is it's not a total. The one I'm proposing is not a total go all in. You're trading one of your young core, a key piece, and you're trading 3 first-round picks, but 2 of them are the protected ones that you got back. You got in trades from the last year, and you still have many picks moving forward. I believe the Knicks would still have 6 picks moving forward over the next 5 years, I believe. So you still have your draft picks to be able to basically be able to reinforce your roster through the draft that way. So, and even make other trades. You can make other trades. So in that scenario, this has potential. Has potential, but I don't know if it moves the needle enough. Honestly. That's me. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts and feelings about this. Really curious. Oh, man. Well, but this thing right here, man, Obi and Thibs, it makes a lot of sense. Nobody's chain has been jerked around more in the past 3 years than Obi Toppin's chain by Tom Thibodeau. We hear him scream at him. He makes a mistake. He benches him immediately. The guy's just not allowed to ever get in the flow. But when he starts, he's a different animal. And he's just not going to get that chance here on this team unless the Knicks finally move off from Julius Randle. So we'll see. All right, well, I'm gonna be going live for the NBA draft. Hopefully, I'll have somebody with me to go through it with you guys. I may go on like after the draft has begun and start analyzing it, and then we'll see how it impacts the Knicks. There might be some moves. There might be some big news. There might actually be moves that the Knicks make to get into the first round, so we'll talk about that. This is it. It's begun. We're back at it. Into the Knicks-Verse. It's going to be cooking again. Thank you guys for watching this. Again, my name is George. Please follow me on Twitter and Instagram and drop your comments, share your thoughts. I love hearing about them and reading about them. They help me tremendously. And I will see you around the Knicks-Verse.